All right. Well, for the audio version, at least Juanito's in here, so that's good. We'll load up the comments. All right, let's get this going in 3, 2, 1. All right, welcome back to the Afterparty podcast, in which we will discuss the season 51 premiere of Saturday Night Live with Bad Bunny as host, Doja Cat as the musical guest. Unfortunately, neither one of those were able to join us today. We asked them. Their PR team was not in. We do have Jesse Cubinet here as always, and our special guest this week is Strip Mall Steve Shackelford. And let's waste no time. All right, now if in the comments we'll check that out. If you guys have anything to weigh in, we'll do that. But that obviously won't help in the audio portion of the podcast. Let's get into the cold open right here to start season 51. Jesse, they come out. I was kind of wondering what story they would attack. There wasn't like a huge story this week because there's like a million little stories each week. What are they going to hit on? And I did not have Jeremy Culhane as my first cast member shown on the bingo card this year. And then we get Colin Jost as Pete Hegseth. What were your thoughts on the cold open? I think you're muted.
I think Jesse says it all, really.
There you go. Now. Wait, why can't I hear you? Steve, are you hearing Jesse?
Not one bit.
Okay, good. I was like, that's my end. Try again, Jesse. It's fine. I can do some easy edits. Let's see here.
So I say we double all this. Keep it in, double it.
Yeah, why not?
Every time.
We're not trying to be pros.
This is live. We didn't script this. You can't script a 2-minute audio dropout. If
you're doing a recorded version of an SNL podcast, are you really into it that much anyways? Jesse. Okay, I'm going to take him out. We're going to pop him back in.
Hot.
Okay. On your StreamYard settings, hit.
I did hear him before.
Sorry, yeah, that's what's weird, right? As we heard him before.
In the backstage, I can candidly admit his audio was working pristinely prior to the session joining, so I don't know what occurred there.
Do you see a microphone at the very bottom of your screen, Jesse? Hit that and see.
Yeah, I do.
No, he's back. He's back.
He's in.
He's back.
That's it.
That was so weird. Steve and I had a lovely chat.
Yeah, it was good.
Started.
I was listening to the whole thing. You guys just didn't know it. I was eavesdropping.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. We're just started again. All right, 3.
Yeah, fire it up from
2.
the beginning.
No, that's fine. It works fine like this. 3.
Double it.
2, 1. Hello, it's the After Party, the new SNL podcast hosted by me and Jesse Cubinet. By the way, I'm Kevin. Our special guest this week is Strip Mall Steve, and we are breaking down the season 51 premiere. And it had Bad Bunny and Doja Cat on it and all that stuff. We'll go segment by segment, sketch by sketch. We'll start with you, Jesse. Cold open. We have Jeremy Culhane as the first cast member seen. The new guy. And in fact, one of our guys. We've actually kind of claimed him as our pick to click. We're going to get ahead of everyone else on that. And then Colin Jost comes out as Pete Hegseth. It kind of looks like him anyways. What were your thoughts on the cold open?
Yeah, it was cool to see Jeremy come out at the top. I definitely didn't expect that either. It reminded me of a couple years ago, James Austin Johnson's first ever episode. I think he opened it as Biden, which we knew him coming in as Trump. So it was interesting to see him do Biden at that time. But yeah, Jeremy, it was just kind of the whole episode. It kind of laid the groundwork as a setup for these new cast members, with the exception of maybe Tommy, who just had a small moment in, I think it was ChatGPT. But yeah, Jeremy gets to open the show. Colin is Hegseth. This makes perfect sense as to what they, I think, are going to do this season with the Trump administration, which also kind of, and we'll get into this more as they, we dive through with update and everything. I think that they're going to take more of the Fallon approach to this season, which I don't necessarily love. It was a big late night TV week as well, with Kimmel being back and back in Brooklyn. And it makes sense that they go Hegseth first, which the problem with SNL in this news cycle is that did feel old to me, but it was the biggest thing. Colbert and Kimmel were on each other's shows respectively. I think it was Tuesday night, maybe Wednesday night. And that was right after this had happened. And they both covered it pretty well. So they're kind of, again, playing from behind on Saturday, which is fine. They know that. I don't think they repeated anything. They kind of are going the closeted angle with Hegseth and this group, which I think is fine. Not a ton of jokes for this whole night, I would say.
Yeah.
We can do our full thoughts on the whole episode later. I'm a little concerned about how they're going to handle this go round. The strongest, and by strongest joke, I mean just like a hard, punchy, like this is an actual joke, was the Trump, James Austin Johnson's Trump, which is great. I think he does the best Trump impression, and was just the joke about the stroke. And like that was the highlight for me of the whole sketch. I think Colin playing Hegseth works. And my last thought that I wrote down is, I think when we were seeing Colin in more sketches last year, there was a feeling of like, oh, is this the end of Jost? Like, is he going to be gone? I actually think different now. They don't get a celebrity to play Hegseth. Colin does it. I think Colin's a long haul guy. And we know this from the book. Like, he's very, very tied into Lauren's inner circle. He's very much a part of the machine of the show, just aside from the writing and performing aspect. So this to me makes me think, even if he leaves the update desk, which again, I don't think he's going to, Colin to me is more likely as like a Lauren successor. That's kind of my biggest takeaway. This is an early thought from the show.
What about you, Steve? What did the cold open do for you?
I thought Colin gave some of the best arm acting I've ever seen in my life. He didn't nail the cadence of Hegseth's voice. That's a tricky word to say in a possessive apostrophe version there. But the arms, they were so, like, it just made that particular impersonation. And then the James Austin Johnson stuff, I think the best part is the neck makeup. And I don't know who does that for him, but that neck is so tricky to get right. And even though he doesn't have the girth of the president, that neck really sells it on top of everything else. I don't know. Yeah, it's tricky. So shout out to the makeup team there.
They're unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so good. We'll talk about that, I think, a little bit later in the weekend update. But like, they make subtle, small changes to him too each year with Trump. They pulled his pants up higher. I mean, the tie's always been long.
The pants, the belt and the pants, the tie's always long. I feel like they're doing his midsection is really good this year.
Mm-hmm. They've done the bit where Trump comes in, everyone freezes. They've done that a lot, but I like that they kind of at least played with that a little bit. And, I mean, it's very, they're running out of things to do with Trump. So they're just creating new devices and kind of playing with it on the fly, I think. And right there, I did like where he was like, okay, who's going to go write your Spirit Airlines jokes now? And that's like a joke that Colin would write, making fun of himself. Because he does do a lot of Spirit Airlines jokes because, you know what, they're easy to write.
It's also a joke Trump would make. It's what I hate. It's what I hate is when they make him so likable. I'm like, that's a joke he would make, and I hate that I would like that joke.
That's what James Austin Johnson, the reason why I do say this is pre him getting SNL, because like his biggest thing that went viral was him doing Trump just walking on the streets. He's walking on the streets of Los Angeles, doing Trump talking about Scooby-Doo, which is still, I think, the best Trump comedy piece we've gotten, because he analyzes Scooby-Doo as Trump in a really fun way. And so I think, again, with how they're going to handle this administration, because this whole thing was playing on the late night stuff of, daddy's watching. I think they're going to go silly Trump. They're going to be closer to Scooby-Doo. They've done it on the show where he did it analyzing like Mario and Super Mario characters, where they do, kind of his stream of consciousness speaking. Yeah, and it loops back around. I think we'll see a lot of that this year, if any. And that's where I think there could be some good stuff in there. But yeah, I don't think they're going to hit pretty hard. And we'll get to that in Update, because I went back and watched the top of Update again this morning, because I was curious if my memory served me correctly, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. I'll quick before we go to the monologue. I do think like there's whispers of, hey, well, Kimmel will be there, and I was like, man, if you think about it, Colbert's going away in May, and Lauren does at least have a little vested interest in Jimmy Fallon. Like, I don't think promoting what would at the time be the only other late night competition, I never see that happening. Like, yeah. They're just gonna handle that, and it fits Fallon more to handle it that way, especially when Seth takes it, a whole other way. So that actually kind of makes sense for Fallon to handle it that way. When the show after, like, if you want the hard hitting stuff, then you got to stay for Seth.
Yeah.
So let's go to the monologue. Steve, we'll start with you. Did you have any thoughts on the monologue?
Man, not really. I know this is a terrible podcast thing to say. I didn't laugh once during the monologue, unfortunately. I didn't need Juan Hamon. I hate to beat up on the monologue, because I think the Spanish thing at the end was fun. I liked all that stuff. But beyond that, it's as good as a monologue as any other musician would do. So I'm not, not against Bad Bunny. I didn't expect him to do a stand-up routine or make me laugh. So it was a perfectly fine monologue, is what I would say. No real insightful stuff on it, unfortunately. No Juan Hamon. I don't need Juan Hamon. Sorry.
I agree. It wasn't super funny. I think Bad Bunny is my biggest takeaway is he's incredibly likable. And I see that in like everything he's done. I saw, oh my gosh, the new movie that he's in that came out, Caught Stealing. He was great in Caught Stealing. Not a huge part, but like was really fun in it. I think he's just like a likable, fun dude. Not a reinvention of the wheel by any means, but the Fox News clip bit, which we've seen every version of the late night show do, but them reacting positively to him doing the Super Bowl halftime show. That was great. And again, the Spanish part was great. Again, not like solid jokes. I have 3, maybe 4 jokes that I can think of from last night from the show. And there weren't really many in there. Yeah. John Hamm there, they were going for, and Seth Meyers always talks about it, and I think it comes from Lauren. It's interesting. Like, this felt like a Clapter episode where they were going for more applause and the recognition of like, oh, John Hamm's here and he's in his silly Bad Bunny, concert going costume. But yeah, not solid. I did like the Fox News clip bit. Those are simple. That's something that would like get clicks online.
And something they don't usually do too. To see them do that. And I couldn't help but think that's something they're doing. Like, dude, Bad Bunny will have a huge, they will get huge ratings for this. They will get a lot of eyes on it. But I do think they are handicapped a little bit with what they can do with him, because English is not his primary language. It just does affect things a little bit. And he can get away with a lot of things, though, because of what you said, how likable he is. And showing the clip of him dancing that went viral and him breaking or hurting his knee, like that's all funny. But it kind of leads to, and we're gonna move on to the sketches now. But like, I have a deep, I've had a feeling that this is a rebuilding year, and you just know that because of not necessarily like who said goodbye and the new cast members, but just the writing staff. And what we've learned about that over the last couple of weeks, it's like, okay. I agree. And I think Jesse said it earlier, like, where were all the jokes? And we'll continue with that. We'll start with you, Jesse, on this one. Let's move to Jeopardy! First sketch of the year. Did you have any thoughts on Jeopardy!
I like the idea of it. I think it's fun. It's a pretty standard SNL opening sketch for the episode. I try not to. I did go into Reddit this morning because I was curious of everyone's thoughts on the episode, and it was getting a ton of justifiable heat for not being a strong episode.
Oh, like Taylor's new album.
Yeah, exactly. Which that is a whole nother conversation we could take and get lambasted on the internet for. But I think we're in the majority here with the SNL Reddit that like this was just not a strong episode of TV, or episode of comedic television, really. In jokes, one of the ones that stuck out to me, again, I wrote it down, was Luck Ass for Lucas.
I love that.
That's great. That's great. That's Keenan being fun. And what I like about it, his name's Luck Ass. They don't dwell on it. We just keep going. You come back later in the sketch. Disputes calls him Luck Ass again. We just know that that's his name. That's great. That's fun. There were some issues. Like it seemed like maybe there was a little bit of a cue card issue at the very end of the sketch. Like this one just didn't seem technically good to go. First episode, a little bit of rust, new boots on the ground, new cast members, a lot of new writers. Again, I think this episode's problem was more of a writing issue. And I want to also say, I meant to say this at the top, it's super hard to put these shows together. It's super hard to write them every week. It's hard to do them when they're nightly. That said, it just was not a super strong episode. I did like the concept of this. But yeah, just kind of fell flat. One of the highlight jokes I was mentioning was Luck Ass.
Luck Ass was great. Steve, have any thoughts there?
A question first. Is Dismukes doing a Ken Jennings impersonation?
See,
or is he just a standard white guy host?
I think he was, and he's done, like, if it wasn't Michael Longfellow, a lot of times Dismukes would be your go-to host type. And the thing about Dismukes, I've always said, is like he can kind of play this almost like evil character or just like edgy, dark type character. But I don't know that he was trying to do that there. I think he was just having fun and just kind of being a little bit of a smart ass about Duke not knowing how to answer questions or not knowing the rules.
Yeah.
Here's what I like about or it's not really like a matter of like or dislike, but when it comes to impressions, like James Austin Johnston's Trump is really good. You need that. I don't need this Ken Jennings to be super on. Like I view it as like he's just a generic host. I'm also fine with Colin doing Hegseth or anyone doing any impression that's not like a very distinguished speech pattern. If you just throw the wig on, you're like, yeah, I'm so and so. That's fine with me, and I think that's what we had.
I agree.
And what was an interesting shout out is that typically was Longfellow, and so for it to start and Longfellow's not there, like you just throw Disputes in there, but that was interesting.
Interesting. The whole sketch felt like a 3-minute walk to a couple Who jokes. I was like, okay. It's like, this is, other than Luck Ass, this was a 3-minute walk to 2 jokes, to 2 music jokes, essentially. I was like, okay, I like 2 musical question jokes being the punch of this sketch, but that was a long walk to get there, guys.
And our first showing of Veronica. And I will nail her last name eventually, but it's Veronica. And yeah, she was fine. She wasn't the focus of the sketch. Just kind of, you have Luck Ass for the joke. You have her to kind of try to keep it moving, so to speak. And then you have Duke playing, the guy who can't phrase the Jeopardy question.
I did think Veronica Slowakowska is what we're going to go with for now, I think. But I thought, at least by halftime of this episode, I was like, okay, she's the one of the new 5 that's going to break out. Like, and look, she's been on What We Do in the Shadows, and she was on Tires and all that stuff, and we talked about her in the episode previewing the season last week. But that's a role that might have been a Heidi or Ego, and sometimes Sarah, but like
Padilla.
Ashley Padilla, and we'll get to her a little later in the show. But like to see Veronica there and it not be someone like Ashley, who we kind of all think is like, okay, she's going to, they're ready to move her up this year. Well, more on her in a little bit. Chat, I'll move to our first pre-tape of the year, Chat GPTO. As a guy with a bunch of Latin uncles, they're my uncle now, right? If I married into it, they're still my uncle, right?
Yeah.
How does that work? Great uncle, or are they your uncle? I don't know how families work,
Yeah. It's your wife's uncle.
We don't roll deep on my side. So just playing on Chat GPT, but I think it's the type of thing where like the wordplay is funnier than the bit ended up being.
It
But
does
I knew,
feel like a pitch from the first, the meeting in Lauren's office, and
yeah,
those are just kind of thrown out. And I
Yeah.
think for somehow this one got made, and it was fine. It was a vessel to show Tommy, Jeremy, and I
Ben
think that's
Marshall.
it. And yeah, Ben Marshall, which not a lot of Ben Marshall in this one, which
Mm-mm.
I want more of. I think he's great. Yeah, it was fine. Getting Bad Bunny and Marcelo in there, and I texted KT about this. I think it was game 2 of the American League wild card, Yankees Red Sox. Behind home plate was Lorne, Jimmy Fallon, and then someone who we just both assume is a writer, and then Marcelo. And that to me shows that if you don't like Marcelo Hernandez, bad news for you because he's not going anywhere. And this episode also showed it. He is their guy. He's taking the baton. He was in a ton of episodes, for better or worse. Like, I think Marcelo's great, but yeah, this was just kind of like, okay, wordplay.
Yeah. I immediately thought of like 8 other pitches where I'm like, get Terrell Owens on the phone immediately and get Chat GPTO. We need Tebow for Chat GPTbo. Get Tina Fey back for Chat GP Tina. And get Keenan in there if you want to really stretch on Chat GP Mr. T and get something like that going. So I think they probably had 9 of those pitches ready to go and they just burned it on TO too early.
I did like the bit though where Mikey Day is asleep and they
Sure,
call him,
yeah.
and this is right up Strip Mall Steve's alley.
I do love a
because,
Smash Mouth joke.
Marcelo
yeah.
goes, and he asks him who sings the song about how somebody once told me the world is pretty crazy, which is not the lyric at all. But to someone who is like, who's the band? And Mikey Day immediately, Smash Mouth. Oh, yeah, that's the one. Like, the idea of Marcelo and Bad Bunny just going back into the kitchen and jamming All Star by Smash Mouth and not really knowing the lyrics was funny to me.
Yeah, all the situations themselves were comedic enough. I just none of them jumped out to me other than maybe the, hey, this is a nice shirt, and here, let's throw a D hanging out that's blurred out. We're like, all right, that's a funny enough thing that a old guy would do, sure. It's like, that seems rooted in reality.
Let's move on to a sketch called The Donor. Man. So Sarah Sherman and Chloe are at the table as a couple, and they're asking their best friend, Andrew Dismukes, if he would like to be their donor. And he's hesitant, but Bat Baby's at a table nearby, and he's like, "What is that? I'll do it." And then, Dismukes leaves, and then you get a weird Keenan character who wants Bad Bunny's sperm, and just kind of, I don't know about you guys, I just didn't love it. Didn't really go anywhere, and again, where are the jokes?
Yeah, fine. It was long, fine character sketch. I do like Bad Bunny being weird. I think that's fun. I like when someone's game to be weird as a host. I think that's important. So he did that. I love a weird Keenan. Keenan in any way, like we know they love Keenan. Like we're just gonna get a lot of that until he decides he doesn't want to do it anymore. Good weird wig, but yeah, little long in the tooth. We get it. He's weird and he wants to give sperm. Keenan wants sperm. They want to mix sperm, put it in the front or the back, whatever that joke was. But yeah, just a little long. It was at this point of the night. I think we all know, people who watch the show a lot, you kind of know where the show's going. If this is where we are, it's unlikely it's gonna boomerang back around. You might luck out with like a weird one after update, but yeah, at this point, I think we all know about where the show's going.
I'm not going to say the sketch was good, but I'm an easy target for just somebody overhearing something and that being the setup for a sketch. I'm just like, perfect. Let's just see where it goes. Sure. Yes, I'm a new character entering the story over here. And like, all right, I'll play along. But it didn't pay off very well. Agreed.
You're right,
very
though.
long.
Guy at the restaurant eating alone in that wig. And then Keenan, the guy at the bar with that haircut alone.
That weird guy. Yeah.
Does work. It does work a little, but I was still, that's another thing. I talk about these things. Don't let however the episode's shaping up affect how you feel about a certain sketch either. And I think we'll get better at that too, maybe. So move on to K-pop Demon Hunters. Jesse? You know what? Can I just tell you this? What bothered me about this sketch first
Sure,
is
absolutely.
that we had another sketch where Sarah and Chloe are sitting right by each other in the same order on the same side of a table in back-to-back sketches. I don't know
Mhm.
why, but I couldn't get over that. Like it was, it. I was just like, no, 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 like do that sketch later or mix it. They don't have to be back-to-back sketches with the same two people sitting in the same place on a table.
That is a weird one coming off of, and we'll probably reference this book a lot, but the Lorne book, knowing like where he sits and how detailed he is, like, oh, the background's off, or this piece of the set is weird. I think we're coming, if I remember correctly, off of a commercial break for that. But
Yeah, we were.
it's odd. You're right. I didn't really think about that. That's jarring. I wrote this down as movie brunch, just because they're talking about movies. I like the concept of this sketch. I think it's funny. Again, I think it's cool where Bad Bunny gets to, um, that pouty, weird faces. Him being into K-pop Demon Hunters is a funny concept. Them getting some shine is cool. The Huntrix gang. What's interesting about this? I watched it about a half an hour after the show started. That's usually what I like to do. Fast forward. I tend to be caught up by update to live. Later on, I went outside. My neighbors, I could tell they were watching Saturday Night Live. This sketch was playing, and they were loving it, really, really eating it up. And I think people that really like K-pop Demon Hunters, which I do too, like that movie's cool. Like I threw it on. My nieces are obsessed with it. I was curious what it was. Music's fun. I get that. I think this sketch will introduce a ton of people to Saturday Night Live. There's probably a ton of people who are Bad Bunny fans. There's probably a ton of people who are in that probably whenever we all started SNL, like 10, 11, 12, 13, however old you were when you hit it, maybe those early middle school years, maybe like fifth grade, when you first watch it, maybe you're not supposed to, but you are anyway. I think this will bring a lot of people to SNL, which is cool. It was a little bit of a clapter. It was they're actually here and they're going to perform. You get Sarah, being a demon, spitting up blood. You get Bowen as the demon. Fun stuff, but I think you could put this sketch earlier, and it would have been an energy booster for the whole show. So that was my thought. I think it's a funny concept. I also think we're absolutely going to see Huntrix with Bad Bunny do Golden at the Super Bowl halftime show. That's at some point. I think that's going to happen. The fact that this came through. So not a great sketch. I get why they did it. I think you capitalize on the fame of K-pop Demon Hunters, but yeah, just as a sketch, it's more of like the punch of it was that they're here. And this was one of the jokes that, to point to a writing issue, I love when you come back out of his first thing where he's daydreaming about the band, and Sarah says she's in the Epstein files. But then they explain it away that it's a flight connectivity issue. Like she was just at a layover. Don't do that. Leave it as she's just in the Epstein files. Just leave it there. That was where I was surprised, because that was one of my favorite jokes of the night. And then they kind of they stomped it out. I didn't like that. Leave it
so
there.
Out of nowhere. It was so good. And then they, explained it away.
Yeah.
It happens. Steve, have you seen K-pop Demon Hunters?
See, that's what was odd to me. I oddly laughed at this sketch a lot, even having very minimal knowledge of the K-pop Demon Hunters. So even when they did the cutaways, I was like, are these actresses that they brought in for this bit? Are these the real K-pop Demon Hunters? I had no frame of reference, but this sketch did make me laugh, funnily enough. I thought the timing in it was terrible. I thought nobody was reading their lines very well. But I oddly just laughed a bunch at this one for some reason. Either the idea of the cutaway or the words K-pop Demon Hunters coming out of Bad Bunny's mouth, I think was just funny enough for me where I was like, all right, I'll take it. Fine.
Yeah, I'll say a lot of those references from that went over my head, but I did know that K-pop Demon Hunters was highly popular. And then I did the legwork on it and realized that it is the most watched film in the history of Netflix. So
yeah, like Jesse said, that's probably a very smart move to get people into SNL. Where like they're not trying to get me into SNL at 40 years old. They got me.
I think that's part of the asking Bad Bunny to do the season premiere. too as part of that. I mean, I think they like him, and they know that they can use them, keep having him back. But like, he brings an audience that does not normally watch the show. So,
Mhm. And
and
this sketch, we should look at this next week, just on numbers alone. And it's funny, it might be on YouTube, it might be on other. I feel like this will have crazy views with the combination of Bad
yeah,
Bunny and K-pop Demon Hunters. And again, what's cool about it is I do think kids will see this on YouTube or TikTok, whatever their avenue is, and they'll just be like, "Oh, this is cool." Like I remember watching my first SNL, and I think it was maybe a Drew Barrymore hosted episode, and I had to ask my parents, like, "Is Drew Barrymore on the show?" And then they explained, "No, no, no. Like it's a cast of comedians and actors, and they bring in someone every week, and they're the new host." And that really unlocked something in my head. So people will see Bad Bunny and they'll see K-pop Demon Hunters and kind of think like, are they on the show all the time? And
yeah.
then now they're into SNL and now they kind of get their cast. So that's, I think, the biggest pro of this sketch.
Let's go to our brand new segment. Rip it or skip it. Doja Cat's first song, a song called Amen. AHHHHHMen. Like she's got a new single out called Jealous that's really good. So when they broke into a song that had the Knight Rider theme sampled underneath it the whole time, I was highly confused. Um, I'll just say I ripped it though.
By the end of it, I was in. That's initially I was
Yeah,
like, okay, what are we doing here? But by the end of it, I think she put on a dynamic performance, and the band did everything they needed to do to make it visually entertaining.
yeah.
So I was in by the end of the track.
I did not think I was going to be such an early skip, but I skipped it. And here's why. I don't want to blame my wife. My wife is typically team skip on the host. Because again, we're usually caught up by updates. So I usually, for better or worse, we're ripping the second song. I didn't love the first song. I'll say that. Now hearing you guys say that you enjoyed the end of it, I kind of want to revisit it. And I was listening to her album this morning. Really love it. Really, really enjoy it. So that is another pro of Saturday Night Live. I know Doja Cat is very popular. She doesn't need,
Yeah.
these, three middle-aged white dudes talking about her
Hey.
and enjoying her. But I was not as, I don't know her whole discography. I don't know her as much as, so other musical guests. But I threw her album on this morning, the new one. Really, really loved it. So that's, again, another pro of SNL is just pointing you in the direction of, hey, you should listen to this person's album.
KT, you're a Morgan Wallen guy, right? That's
No,
who you know the most
not
of?
at all.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I
you've
thought.
been
Sorry.
to numerous Morgan Wallen concerts.
I've not been lucky enough to get that invite to go to a Morgan Wallen show. Okay, weekday updates where we'll go. In fact, we have someone in the comments. Texas Boy 0688 says, "Was update good?" This is the moment you've been waiting for, Texas Boy 0688. Was weekday update good? Let's start with the features, and then if there's any jokes or anything that you guys want to hit from it. I do know that Jane Wickline, who was not on the show at all last night, except in Good Night, she had a song that was cut, and it was apparently about Harry Styles running the 3-hour Berlin Marathon, which is a story from like 3 weeks ago. And I think that's where that might have played because that was a bit of a story. But again, that was a story in September and mid-September. So she gets cut. Cam Patterson, and I'm right before weekday updates or weekend updates started. I just told I told my wife Rox, I was like, I think we'll get Cam Patterson here, and we did. And I don't know, what'd you guys think about his bit there?
I think, yeah, as update was coming, I thought we're going to get Cam or we're going to get Tommy at the desk as themselves as an introduction. Dismukes did it early on. I think I even saw a photo that Andy Samberg and Bill Hader did it on their first episode ever.
20 years ago this week.
Yeah, we talked about this at the beginning. I don't really love Cam Patterson's stand-up from what I've seen. That said, I think he was the highlight of the show last night from a comedic perspective, which I don't mark that as like a good sign for the show. That's not good that his was the best. I do think he did a good job there. I thought I think this is where Colin does a really good job. And a friend of mine, Katie, who wrote for SNL for a long time and wrote on Update for a really long time, worked with Colin on that staff. He's apparently a really good guy. He likes to give people this shot. You could see that with the way he works with Sherman in particular, I think is really great. I like the cut to Che. I thought he did a good job. I thought this is what Kimmel fought for. Is a great. That's a great hit.
That was a great line.
The
hand up. That was so good.
The baseball analogy, and I think that's the sport we should stick with when talking to SNL. And you said at the top, it's a bit of a rebuilding year. I think you come out with your ace with Jost. I don't think your new roster, your bats weren't as good as you kind of thought they were, at least at this opening day. But I thought Cam Johnson came out and got on base as a guy who not rooting against any of these people by any means, but his comedy just doesn't really hit me that well. It's this kind of, I call it table comedy, from the Kill Tony, where it's just people kind of doing stand up. And then there's a table of people also with microphones there. Yeah. Roasts and having a dais is not new. People have been doing that for decades, but this table comedy is very popular right now. And it's not my taste. That said, if he continues to evolve in the show, he's got a ton of potential. And to do bits like this, we'll see. Now, after this, we get to see a lot of the new people in sketches as kind of background support. I'm interested to see how he will be in sketches as a character. Same with Tommy. Like, I'm just interested to see how they'll be. Bummed we didn't get to see Jane in some way. I think whenever she busts out that little keyboard, it's good. But yeah, definitely not a great sign for her week one. No. Putting up a goose egg. The only time we saw her was her name in the open and then at Good Nights. So that's rough.
Steve, thoughts on Cam?
Thought he was great. And I have not watched any of his stand-up. So to me, similar to what Jesse said, probably the most energy I saw all night of any of the performers. And, none of them, I'm not asking for them to outact their role in a particular sketch. But he brought a much-needed, almost Tracy Jordan-like energy to steal a 30 Rock thing there, where I was like, all right, this guy leaps off the screen a little bit more, and that putting him in the Update was probably a good place to introduce him to someone like me who hasn't watched his stand-up before. So, no, I thought he was great.
And then Jesse hit on the Kimmel line is so good. Yes. I mean, and I like
really good.
And the cut to Che. I said I'm grown. I was grown when I said that.
And
it was a very good
Che
cut.
With a glass of whiskey in his hand is solid.
Right.
I feel like they did that really well.
And I like Michael and Colin just kind of taking over almost the same Keenan thing as like we've been here forever, and just wear that. I mean, dude, Colin's been there since 2007. Like he's been there for 18 years, like 5 years less than Keenan. Like he's been there forever. So like those guys wearing that's interesting to me. I also think
interesting, really quick, kind of on that is the way that there's a looseness to Update now, which I think has always been there. Like you like asides or comments to the audience, like Colin pointing out like one clap as an applause break, a little bit of back and forth with each other, even coming into. I think you're going to maybe go to Bowen's bit next, where he has a little bit of a wardrobe issue. It feels like Update they've loosened it a little bit, where any form, and we know this from the history of the show, any form of improvisation or riffing is a big no-no in SNL land. And it feels like they've loosened that a little bit on the Update desk, which I think you get from Colin, he knows the pace of the show. I'm sure again, this was a weak episode overall. I think we've said it without really saying it. This episode was not that good. And maybe, hey, we have time, we can riff in here.
Sure.
We can stretch if we need to. And I think that's what comes with having a vet who's been writing there and running the show essentially since, before the Obama administration.
Yeah, no doubt. And they're some of Michael and Colin are Lauren's deputies. So they're in the big meetings picking sketches, and doing rewrites and all that. And then a sketch that was, written for Jesse, Dobby the house elf comes out, Bowen Yang, wonderful makeup. Man, I couldn't help but think about you, Jesse. I'm sure you have glowing thoughts on this.
So it was good. I didn't personally love it, which it is.
Really?
Yeah, it is for me. Like I like Harry Potter. I like all those books. I obviously am plugged into the J.K. Rowling controversies, and I just don't understand why she keeps digging on any of this stuff. Like, you're so rich, just like live in your castle and then write your Robert Galbraith Cormoran Strike novels. What I thought about it was fun. Again, the makeup and everything, incredible. His little like shirt thing breaking, incredible. Banging his head on the camera was fun.
That was good.
What I think they're doing with Bowen, and I almost have to like, Bowen's so good and so fun in general. It does feel like they're occasionally trying to capture Iceberg or Mudang, because Bowen's done a few of these now, which is fine. They always do it, but like Iceberg was so good. Mudang was really funny, and then those are the two that immediately come to mind where he's in like a pretty good getup. This one was good. It wasn't like my favorite of his, but it was good.
Yeah. I always like it when it's a little more timely, and I know this was a story, but like, how big of a story was it?
Yeah.
The same thing you could say about, Jane's Cut song about Harry Styles running the 3-hour marathon of him being the fastest pop star, but
that's where
I want to hear that song now, though.
Yeah, Iceberg was funny, but it's also like it's the Titanic. There was some piece of news about the Titanic, which is where it's now finally time for the Iceberg to tell their side of the story. That always to me is just like, oh, that's such a small thread that they just pulled on, and like, oh, you got such a nice chunk of meat off of it. Like, you got all of this from that, whereas it's interesting. This felt like they were really kind of playing from behind the whole episode with the news of the week, which happens.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the rest of Update. My, again, thoughts on Update as a whole on some of the jokes. And this happens. Sometimes it's just the news you get isn't there. Like, I remember this when I was at Conan, like the monologue sometimes just like wouldn't hit. That was just like the news of the day. Same with Kimmel. It's just like what you have to work with. But what surprised me again, and kind of makes me think that they're going the more Fallon route, even at Update, there wasn't really a ton of Trump humor, which again, I don't need, because I think the mistake of the 2016 to 2020 run was that was all we got and we were all fatigued from it. But to not necessarily ignore it, like you had the shutdown and then the Jennifer Coolidge impression of it, I didn't love that. I'm not a huge fan of comedy impressions of comedy people. I think I didn't love that. I think that was weird that's where they went with it. I think just ignore it. Like, don't do the Obama stairs bit. Like, I didn't need Jennifer Coolidge at all.
That was weird.
And I think Chloe's impressions are good. But again, I'm not a huge fan of a comedy impression of a comedy person. And that was where I was like, I don't think anyone needed this. But it was interesting. Again, I went through and watched the beginning of it this morning. I think it's one of the first updates where they didn't really open with Trump in a really long time. They opened with the shutdown, which is a clever concept of, the government shutting down. It mirrors all of us. It was fine. Update overall was fine, but they have off weeks. And I think we'll get next week. I think we get really with Seth and Amy. I think that's going to come back.
Yeah, I can totally see that for sure. Steve, did you love Dobby?
Oh, Dobby? I'm glad we skipped over me. I almost have to recuse myself from any conversation about elves or wizards because I thought that was that Gollum guy for at least half that thing. Whereas, like, I get them all confused. I don't know what's a Lord of the Rings or what's I got you. Called? A Potter. So no, I thought it was very well delivered. I laughed at it, even not understanding a lot of the lore or stuff that goes into Dobby in general. So still a funny performance.
When he says pronouns were Cho Chang, I didn't think that was
okay. Yeah, see, like I don't know. Good. I don't know what joke that is. Like, I don't understand the Cho Chang thing, but it still makes me laugh. I'm like, is this a legit character?
I need a little explanation from my wife. That helped, but that one worked for me. Let's move it on, and we'll move a little faster towards the end. There's not a lot to be proud of here. The Spanish language. Bad Bunny is the emperor from 900 AD. I kind of thought they were going for trying to pull off the George Washington sketch style. 100%. Now, Mikey Day's Barcelona accent was really good. Benicio del Toro comes out for a cameo, and that was a struggle, though. But it was cool to see him. He's probably my favorite part of One Battle After Another.
Yeah. No,
But
agreed. It felt very much like trying to capture George Washington, which I love, and I think we all love that sketch. I thought when they did a version of it at the Emmys, it was like a little, it's getting a little bit played out. This was good in concept. I think it's funny. The El and La form of the Spanish language was good, but yeah, trying to recapture that, it was a little slow. It was cool to just see Benicio again, a little bit of clapter there, and this one just kind of went on a little bit long.
yeah, no, that's the whole thing. We weren't getting to the point, and we needed a funny accent, a wig. I will say, when they did behead Mikey Day's character, that looked like, to me, it looked like Strip Mall Steve.
Oh,
When
good.
they brought the head up, I was like, it's Steve, and
All
he's
press is
on
good
the episode
press.
tomorrow.
Get me
Yeah.
out there. That's right. Get that face out there.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Steve, or no?
No, I also could tell within 5 seconds. I was like, oh, they're just lifting this Bargatze bit that they do everywhere. And I can't tell how that one's going to age. If it's going to turn into those like progressive turning into your parents commercials, we're like, all right, you'll get a laugh out of me
Yeah.
every 3 of these that you do, you'll get a laugh out of me somewhere. So I'm fine with you keeping this setup structure, but I think it is going to get diminishing returns as it goes. Where I'm like, I don't know how
sure.
much more we can keep going to this well. So,
Let's go to Rip It or Skip It, song 2. The song's gorgeous, so I wanted to hear the song Jealous, because it's a heater in her current single, and she went with Gorgeous. The set was good, but this would, even though I watched it all, I would say it would qualify as a skip it for me. I didn't really love it.
Interesting. I'm a flip. I ripped it, and I would put this song for me as the top point of the show. It was this, and then Cam
Wow.
Johnson for me. Yeah, I really liked it, and again, it pointed me towards her album, which is the whole point of doing these shows, and I thought it was great. I thought it was really, really cool. Really good song.
I think the song is fine. I think whoever choreographed this made a terrible mistake. You got to get her out of that rose. Last chorus, bridge. She cannot still. I kept looking down. I was like, she is still sitting in that damn rose. It's
Yeah.
like, all right.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me keep looking down. I'm like, she going to do anything? Nah. And it's over. You're like, son of a gun. So that's my only note. Get her out of that rose.
We had 2 sketches that qualify for 10 to 1 criteria here, which would be 10 to midnight here in Central Time Zone.
Very interesting. Yeah.
So we're about 80 to 90% through with the show, and we get our first Ashley Padilla visit in student drawings. So her and Dismukes are, I guess, a principal and vice principal or something going on there. I don't know if they were clear on that. Marcelo's a 13-year-old boy who's made some really terrifying drawings at school, so they call his dad. So they're being kind of hard-ass on Marcelo, and then Bad Bunny walks in as his dad, and Ashley Padilla is in love.
Yep.
And this was a star power performance, man. This is good.
She was really good in it. My only drawback was and again, this is not a reinvention of the wheel. Like, we've seen a version of this sketch before, I think. And this, even in like movies where like the teacher and falls in love with the parent or whatever. They just did this not that long ago with Ego and Jason Sudeikis, where they were kind of like hitting it off inappropriately. And again, I think Dismukes was the husband in that one too. Which he kind of plays often. He's always in Domingo. He's the husband in the Domingo sketch. He plays those really well. But yeah, good Padilla. It was solid. Wasn't incredible. And I think my only thing holding me back was it immediately took me to the Ego and Sudeikis sketch. But again, she's good. I think they know what they have with her. She's funny. She had a few really good moments in this. She's
I want to push.
gonna have a strong year.
I want to push back on something. I think they know what they have with her, but they're not sure yet.
Oh, that's
Because I think if you think you know what you have with her, I think that sketch would go earlier in the night.
Yeah.
I mean, it got laughs too, and it seemed like kind of a down crowd, honestly.
I do think the crowd was a little light, which can happen. Like, you can kind of tell pretty early where they are, and I do think that they were a little bit off. I think for Amy next week, there's going to be a ton of energy.
Yeah.
I don't think, and I think you said this last week, KT, I don't think this was the season opener that they wanted. Not anything against Bad Bunny or Doja Cat, but I think they would have wanted a double Sabrina to open it. It was a little bit of a low energy show and did not have a premiere energy to me.
You know, she's doing Austin City Limits.
And and Role Models too.
Yeah. And Doja Cat dropped out of Austin City Limits to be here at SNL. And I know that because she was replaced by the Killers, who you can see tonight at 8:30 on Hulu. There's a good promotion of a band that doesn't need it. They need it. Underdog story. Underdog story. Yeah, so student drawing, Steve?
I know we're talking about season 51 here, and I know Ashley Padilla did a great job. This was the one where I was like, I wish Heidi was playing this role instead of Ashley, where I was like, I feel like she just would have elevated it a little bit more. And I did not have the Ego Sudeikis recall, so that didn't enter my mind once when I was watching it, unfortunately. I just immediately went to, man, this would be great if Heidi Gardner was playing this character. And that's unfair to Ashley Padilla. She's not there anymore, so I can't keep doing that. It's just it's the first thing that jumped out in this particular sketch.
It's just funny that she changed what she thought about the drawing.
Sure.
To impress the dad. I thought the bat was a ruler. He's measuring me. Ruler, right. Oh, boy, he's measuring you.
For a wedding dress, yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, that's it. Very well written. I didn't have a problem with the writing on it at all. It was fine.
We go to El Chavo del Ocho, which is the boy in Building 8. I did not understand any of the references here, but I did learn very quickly this was a play on a Mexican TV show. So this is almost like, hey, Bad Bunny, if you want to do something, or maybe he wanted to do it, and they were like, yeah, we'll do it. But no laughs, and
yeah,
you know, it was definitely something that's out there, you know. So
yeah, I honestly can't believe that this made it. I'm like UKT. This was again, I was on the SNL Reddit this morning, and that's where I found it. There's a character on there that was the inspiration for Bumblebee Man on The Simpsons, which I did not know that. That's cool. Yeah, I honestly can't believe that this was not a cut before air sketch, and I think it just speaks to the entire. We can kind of probably round this into the end of the show discussion. Like, just not a good episode overall, and I think they had to air something, and I'm shocked that they didn't have more of a pre-tape thing. I think this is where you miss Please Don't Destroy, because you throw a Please Don't Destroy in the middle, maybe before update or after update, then you go Doja Cat number 2, then you end with Ashley Padilla and the parent-teacher drawing thing, then you go right into Good Nights, and it's fine. Yeah, this was just a miss. Apparently, from the pictures I've seen, they nailed it. Like, Sarah Sherman was an actual character from that, and so they were like mimicking everything, which is fun. And I think we'll do numbers with a different audience. But like, yeah, just even the audience had no recognition of it. I had no recognition of it. Yeah, an odd one to see make air.
For sure.
Yes, I knew none of the references. I was like, is this Chico and the Man from the 70s? It was like when I'm watching Community before I'd seen Hearts of Darkness or something like that. And you're like, what on earth is going on with this episode? I'm like, I'm not catching half of the comedy here because I don't. Yeah, I'm like, I don't understand this. So I missed the comedy. It may be very good.
When they showed the title sequence of it, though, my wife was like, oh, they're doing that. Like,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, right.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I thought initially, I was like, oh, they're making one up to, you know, like they've done this with like Japanese game shows.
Sure.
Or the, I'm shocked we didn't get.
Sábado Gigante?
I'm shocked we didn't get
I know. My good friend Jake Kemp texted me, goes, they better do Sábado Gigante tonight. And I was like, yeah, that or Immigrant Dad Talk Show. We've got a few things I thought they were going to play with, but this might be another byproduct of a largely new writing staff, too. Like, some things that aren't theirs are going to be out the window. I would like to give out our game balls here. We'll start with you, Steve. Who gets your game ball?
Man, I'll actually give it to Cam for the Weekend Update performance. Or, yeah, I mean, I got to give it to Cam because I already said that. Che is my close second because, man, just any joke he delivers, I don't care if it's a visual punchline of him with boobs. Like, I'll just laugh. I just love Che so much. So he didn't really earn it this episode. I'll give it to Cam, but I love Che too much.
Jesse?
Yeah, I probably would have given one to Cam, but I'll give it to Doja Cat for that second performance. I think it was the um, best part of the night. Which again, both of those two things, second musical performance and a rookie's
Yeah.
update debut, is not a good omen for how the show went overall.
Yeah, go rewatch that first performance too, and you'll
I
I think you'll
will.
like
I
it.
will.
I'm gonna give it to Colin just because whatever you're expecting, and it was never like it was not an election year like last year where you've got Andy Samberg and Maya Rudolph and Jim Gaffigan and Dana Carvey, and you're learning who's gonna do this. You can't recapture that energy, but to come out and do a really good physical performance of Pete Hegseth, not expecting to see Colin ever outside of the update desk. I'm going to give him the game ball. And I don't think it was his strongest update, but that's where we are. I'd like to throw out, and you can think on this quick if you'd like. I do want to throw out one prediction for next week with Amy Poehler and Role Model, the band. So Role Model, which by the way, the guy's name is Tucker Pillsbury, but they always bring someone out in the song Sally. What's the line? Something. What's the song called? Sally.
Sally when the wine runs out.
Sally when the wine runs out.
He says, "Who's my Sally tonight?" And at Austin City Limits, it was Hillary Duff.
It was Hillary Duff.
Yeah.
So I predict that the Sally will be Sally O'Malley, Molly Shannon.
Wow, that's solid. Because mine was Cowbell. Will Ferrell doing Cowbell.
That could be fun.
Yeah. That's fantastic though. The Molly Shannon one is really good, and if she's available and can do it, that's excellent.
Is Sally Jesse Raphael still with us?
And because Bowen did it on Fallon.
Bowen did it on Fallon years ago. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you that Sally Jesse Raphael is 90. She could do it.
Oh,
I do like that. Steve, do you have a Sally prediction?
hey, man, I really don't. I hadn't thought about this one. Let me see. I'll say Bill Hader. Is that a Sally? Can he come back as a Sally?
I mean, yeah. I
Sure,
think
why not? He's friends with Polar, right? That's the thing. I'm like, he'll be there for
Yeah,
Polar,
right?
maybe. I'm like, I don't know.
I think
I
50.
just want to see more Hader.
It's the actual 50th anniversary of when the show started. Is that night. So I think you're going to see. Maybe they surprise us. They could run it back with Bowen too as the Sally. They could just
They
because
might.
they've done it before.
Yeah, it depends on where he's at in the show. I think my prediction for next week is we get a really with Seth and Amy at the desk. I think that will be the bulk of update. Like I don't think you get a ton of features for that. I think you get both Seth and Amy, maybe Tina. I also am surprised because I saw Tom Hanks did the final night of Kimmel in Brooklyn because he's got a play running right now. I do think we get a Tom Hanks cameo at some point, and depending on when his play's running, I'm shocked it wasn't last night. It feels like a Hanks for a season opener would have lifted a little bit, but I also wonder Ham is getting a good response, but it's not the response he used to get, and I
He's
think
always there.
I think that's us kind of aging out a little bit, and
Yeah.
the audience being not as ready. I think Amy's gonna have a lift that this show needs right now. Again, the baseball analogy, you're gonna bring in an ace, and she's gonna deliver. I think Role Models, that first song, I like that Sally when the wine runs out song. I think that will be a huge energy booster if he opens with that. If he doesn't, they're crazy. I think that's the whole. You bring him on to do that song.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's going to do for song number 2, but that's definitely the song that you bring him on for. So I just think we need a higher energy show. The writing has to improve. I think it will. But yeah, man, it's really hard to make these shows. I try to not be influenced on it. I stepped on it. This was not a good episode. It just wasn't. And that happens. It's unfortunate. It's the first episode of the season, but yeah, it was rough.
Well, Steve, thank you for joining us on this review episode. We really appreciate it.
Happy to be here, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Jesse, be safe with the move. If you need me to meet you in the middle and help lug some of that stuff, you just let me know, man.
Yeah, meet me in Flagstaff.
In Flagstaff, just kind of, fill up the tank, and we'll make this happen. Get all your stuff here, and we will review the Amy Poehler Role Model episode with a mystery secret guest next week. You can get this on Spotify or Apple, and maybe some other places where you get podcasts. And share it if you like it or whatever. Leave a 5-star review. All that stuff. It probably matters. I don't fully know how the internet works anymore, but there it is. For Jesse Cubinet, a future Texas resident. For Strip Mall Steve, give him a follow at Strip Mall Steve. He's got a lot of stuff cooking, folks. He's always in the kitchen.
Lasagna.
I'm Kevin Turner. By the way, go ahead and give at Haymaker Network a follow as well. I'm going to throw that out there from time to time as well. We will see you next week on the Afterparty podcast. That's what we're calling it. All right. Bye. Stream ended.